Welcome to the Sports Wrap. Happy summer. Here we are. We made it past.
June 23rd today.
June 23rd today, a Monday, and we celebrated summer in the right way with your little anniversary party on the Solstice birthday and the 50th anniversary of George and Sue, and we had some good food and some good music.
It was great music. The Mother Pluckers, and I always said this throughout the thing. It probably was a lot easier for me to do the 50 than it was for her. It's one of those things. But I also add, without me, she wouldn't have had near the adventure that she had with me.
Well, I can't argue with either of those statements.
Yeah,
I think you nailed them right on the head. Of course, we had very good weather and good friends. Good family food was there. The kids had a good time, I think, in the lake. And like I said, the weather was gorgeous. I know some people were saying it was a little warm out in the sun, but you found the shade. Everything was good.
Talking to that young lawyer guy that you used to teach.
That was definitely a part of it. That was good to see him. Of course, hopefully Bemidji in his area. I didn't really ask if
He said the landscape is entirely different. He also made a suggestion that there were no longer tall trees in Bemidji. The cemetery that had all those beautiful trees in there just has headstones now.
I talked to Dave Olson, who was a camp director or whatever back in the day when he was going to school.
Yeah.
He said that the camp where he was at, 700 acres of trees. He said it was a lake in trees, 700 acres. He said they told me there basically is not a tree left standing on that 700 acres.
Yeah, this is, and I mean, my sister, she's just, her and her husband retired, and they have a canopy of beautiful trees around their home, of birch trees and pine trees, and now it's no trees, and it's just, she's just crushed.
The house is fine?
Is going to be what? The house is fine. And I told them, I says, the house is fine. You and your dogs are fine. Give a celebration for, because I tell you, for that amount of damage to be pushed so fast and nobody being killed
or injured.
Yeah.
Crazy. It's very fortunate.
Anyway.
I know it looked like we were going to get some last night. This is Monday.
Yeah.
And boy, I heard somebody say that they saw a tornado touchdown in Baudette or near Baudette.
Yeah, that's where I saw the red dots. I was seeing them all night.
It was during the basketball game last night. Well, as long as we're talking about the basketball game.
Yes.
OKC wins it all, and Halliburton goes down with the Achilles tendon injury, and that maybe changed the fate of the game.
Well, it very well might have, because they were in the game right at halftime, and they were ahead at halftime. But when the Thunder came out the second half, halfway through the third period, you knew who was going to win the basketball game.
Yeah, I got home just after halftime. I think it was like 7:52 is what sticks in my brain, was left in the third quarter, and OKC had opened it up a little bit, had taken the lead and opened it up a little bit. And when it got to about 21 or 22 at one point, I texted Paul, fork, which means we believe that it's over. That's what we say, to stick the fork in them, they're done. But Indiana didn't go away.
No, they didn't. They kept.
And they got it down into single digits at one point, and I'm like, ooh. But
and they were swatting in there. I'm telling you, there were bruises on those arms this morning. It was a very, very physical game, and the finesse game that the Pacers can play is Halliburton, and he just wasn't there to play it. And not that they don't have some other good people, McDonough and all the rest of those. They're just, I mean, they really go hard. But that's an exceptional talent. So.
Shea Gilgeous-Alexander wins the league MVP, the scoring title, and the Finals MVP. First guy in 25 years to do that.
Well, and he's young too.
He's very young, yeah.
Yeah, and so right now, and I mean, I don't particularly like the style of basketball being played as it is right now, but there are some really incredible basketball players. I mean, I watched Big Bill Russell play for years, that's as good a basketball player as everything. He couldn't do with a basketball that Chet Holmgren, he couldn't take it down court. He can get the rebound and pass it off pretty good, but you weren't going to have him do those things. Big Wilt, you know, he did not have the capability of doing all of these high-tech moves that the tall guys can do. And I mean, and it's not just Holmgren right now. He's the exception, but the guys that are coming over from Europe and stuff, they all handle the ball very well. And Jokic.
Face up to the basket. You're talking about these guys who can play the back to the basket. These guys couldn't play that way.
No,
they would feel like a fish out of water.
Well, they do, and the only thing that they can do is go to the turnaround jumper. You know, I haven't seen a real legitimate hook shot in a long time, and it's you know, so they and then you know, I see sometimes that center will post up, and I take a look at where the wings are. When they get that ball in the center, it's out to a wing quicker than you can think about it. Bam, bam. So he winds up as a true pivot guy because he's pivoting that basketball from side to side.
True.
So I like watching that. So anyway,
I heard the word dynasty thrown about this morning and last night.
There's only one thing that I have a problem with that, and that's called salary cap. Because they got all these young people down there, and I'm telling you, Chet Holmgren's going to get a raise. And it's going to be a considerable one. He's kind of still on those young rookie contract type things. That's about to change.
And I agree, and I will say this. ESPN loves to throw around the D word.
Yeah.
And when the Boston Celtics won last year, guess what they started talking? Oh, this is a dynasty. Oh, they're loaded for blah, 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 blah. Well, okay, it didn't work out. Okay? Cleveland was supposed to be good.
Yeah.
They were talking, ESPN put out a thing this morning about OKC is the team to beat in the West, but there's 3 teams right behind them that could be right there. With Kevin Durant moving to Houston, and Houston was the 2 seed this year, you would suspect that Houston has kind of put their hat into the ring on that. I still think the Timberwolves are in that mix. And
well, they might be, but you know, it's like, and I mean, I know you like Kevin Durant. Who doesn't? He's an incredible basketball player. But that's going to put them in a crimp on the salary cap as well.
Absolutely. They are going all in because they know that Kevin Durant's only got 1 or 2 good years left in him. Seriously, I mean, I believe that, and I think that's as much as I would have liked to see him wear a Timberwolves uniform. It would have been really, really interesting to see what would have happened if he'd have put on a Wolves uniform, but that's not to be, and now we'll move forward with what's going on. Of course, the NBA draft is this week.
Hopefully we can keep some of these guys who otherwise would have dumped. I have no problem with Randall being on that team or Gobert.
It's interesting, as long as you bring up Gobert, it's interesting to think about, we kind of mortgaged the farm for Gobert.
We did.
And if you saw what Houston gave up, 5 second-round picks and a first-round pick and 2 pretty good players. The Timberwolves didn't have that kind of leverage.
No.
They don't have those kind of draft picks sitting around.
They probably still don't. But
so maybe it's for the best that we didn't get Kevin Durant. But now we got to play against them how many ever times.
So yeah, that's when we regret it and say, geez, we had an opportunity to get them.
The Jim Suhans and the Patrick Racy's of the world will be sitting out there saying we should have, could have, would have.
Oh, the Stephen S.
And
the Stephen S.
So, we talked about earlier before we talked about that Halliburton blew his Achilles.
Yeah.
3 players in the playoffs blew Achilles, and they all wore the number 0. Better think about getting rid of that number 0, boys. Seems like that's not a good place to be, maybe.
Well, last time,
or at least with Achilles tendons.
The last time I wore a number, it was 00 for that very reason, double I.
So, yeah, you never know.
Yeah.
Florida Panthers.
Yeah.
They win their 2nd consecutive championship.
Yeah.
Kind of put a stranglehold on Game 6 the other night, and Edmonton could do nothing to get out of it. It was
They
like
really couldn't.
it was like the boa constrictor, and they just kept ramping and.
And you know when they have the bull by the horns when they bring in those big defensemen, and you can't even see the goalie, not to mention the goal. They're in there so tight, and it's just like they're actually protecting the net. All they have to do is protect the lead. And I watched how they play that, and I thought, whoa, you got to be a man that loves danger. You want to go into that mess. And Edmonton just really couldn't do anything with it.
Yeah, for as many snipers as Edmonton has with Draisaitl and Nugent Hopkins, and of course maybe the greatest player in the world, McDavid, really couldn't get anything going in Game 6 when Florida won up in Edmonton in Game 5. That we talked about it last Monday. That kind of sealed the fate. It was going to make it really tough.
You could hear the air go out of the arena. It was that tough. And if they would have come back and won it, they would have praised the hockey gods for that one. I'll tell you.
For sure.
So it was, but hey, they were fun. It was a good series.
Yeah, it was a great series, and now Eli even said last night, winter sports is finally over. Basketball and hockey are finally over.
Time for baseball.
It's June 23rd, and they're finally over. But we'll move on.
I remember for years on Father's Day, I didn't stick around town. I went to Los Angeles and listened to the blues, and that would be we would be able to catch up on the Los Angeles Celtics basketball thing that was going on, and they were in the 6th or 7th game, and that would have been the second week in June. So we're another week longer than we were then, maybe more.
Yeah, I just gotta get this text out.
There you are.
Get one of my coaches straightened away. Anyway, I talked about the NHL draft is this Friday and Saturday, and I believe the NBA draft is this Wednesday and Thursday. Just let me double check the numbers on that. Whoops, jeez. I'll get the right spelling here. I'm trying to. Let's see, the NBA draft. Wednesday, June 25th, and Thursday, the 26th. So we'll have drafts on 4 nights in a row.
So where do you think that's going to go for Mr. Flagg?
Oh, he's the number one. He's the number one pick. No doubt about it. It's not even conversation.
He was eligible to play high school basketball this year. That's how young he is. But he is smooth. He's got a great shot. He's got an obsessive, focused mind.
He's got a sense.
He does.
He sees things happening. I think a long time before others see things.
That set of eyes, that's important.
Yep. Got to have that instinct. That helps.
So who else is going to go in that first round?
Man, I'm going to tell you, I'd be lying to everybody if I said I knew who was going to go 2 through 5. Here's the problem: you got all these Europeans.
That's what I'm questioning. Because out of 10, I'll bet you 4 of them come from Europe.
At least. Probably. It's kind of, I haven't really.
Or not to mention Africa.
And I haven't done any homework on it. And the Wolves are what, 17?
Yeah. Something like that, yeah.
Something like that. 21, I don't know, whatever. I have a hard time. As much as we like watching the NFL draft, I can't get into the NBA, the MLB draft, which is also this coming up soon. And the NHL draft I can kind of get into because they start talking about all these Swedish and Finn guys, and it's really...
Besides, you have life. There's no reason... that takes a long time, and the hyperbole that goes, especially that football draft, that's incredible. It's just the NFL has to. Those are hawkers out in the street, and they come and see our show, and this is what we have for you, and look at all this money. I mean, it's quite a phenomenon. And then we had a boss one time that wanted to go to Las Vegas for that, and I thought to stand there and scream and shout, and can I read a book? Can I bring a book with me? It's tough to do. So
the Lynx won yesterday.
K-Mac
82-66. No Nafisa. And Kayla McBride did.
Kayla McBride, and she got 29. She picked up 15 points in 6 minutes. And they pulled her out. They were up by 1, and 6 minutes later, they were up by.
They win by 16.
They won by 16.
Go to 12-1. That puts them 2 games in front of the Liberty.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's.
And one of my other players on there, you know, it's like Collier. I mean, she's an incredible basketball player. She's beautiful, fun to watch. She's got a smile on her face. The other one that I really like is Courtney Williams, and she picked up 18. And when you get around scoring like that, this is going to be a hard team to beat. And
well, especially when your stud's sitting on the bench with a sore back, and sore backs are.
Sore backs.
They're tough to play basketball with.
You cannot do it.
It's quite difficult. So, yeah.
I tell you, from this point on, any chance I get to watch them on TV, I'm either going to watch them or I'm going to record it. But I'm not going to miss any more of their games. They don't have that many. The season, how long does it last?
Yeah, I suppose about mid-September.
Mid-September.
They'll be done with the regular season.
Yeah.
So we got a few months left. I know they extended the schedule. I think it was 34 before. I think they went to 40 games. So that'll extend the regular season about another 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks.
That might be more fun than watching the Twins.
What's going on, George, with the Twins? You want to try to explain it to us? Maybe we should bring Jen in over here. She can explain it.
You know, but the last time somebody said
about the Twins,
they had a downfall like this. Her friend Pedro went down, a pitcher, and all of a sudden they quit hitting. What's that all about?
Well, they've given up 16 runs in a game 3 times in the last 2 weeks,
and swept by the Brewers, swept by Cleveland. I mean, right now they're the 4th best team in the
AL Central.
AL Central.
Yeah, 37-40, 11 games back. That's vastly different than what we talked about last week.
Yet they lost 9-8, come back from a 9-2, had 18 hits.
And
they lost. And it's too bad because Brian Buxton, he's as good a baseball player as I've seen in a long time this year.
Yeah, what did they say? He's top 10 now in home runs, runs scored, RBIs, and stolen bases. I think I was watching when I was flipping through the channels the other day. That's not too shabby.
No. But right now they're barely keeping their heads above water. And if these kids don't, and they got some good kids that can come and play. A batter played a heck of a game the other day, and these are big, strong young guys that can run the bases and do a lot of stuff. But my problem that I have is taking a position player and turning me into a pitcher, and that would be Jonah Pride. And so he's got a. I mean, if you want to go there and see, I saw a position player pitch in the major leagues. He's got a 15 ERA, which isn't real good.
That's not real good, no.
And I thought, they're going to put him in the 7th inning. I don't know what the going ticket for the third baseline ticket is, but
probably $90, $100.
I'm not sure how much of that. Then I don't want to see a major league pitcher on the mound for 3 innings. And it's just that's a question. I don't know how many other teams do it or how often they do it, but
okay. We talked about this.
This has happened before.
We talked about this numerous times on this show about not leaving our starters in a bit longer, because we always seem like, wow, we got all these guys in the bullpen, so let's bring them out for 1 inning. Well, when you're bringing those guys out for 1 inning 4 or 5 times a week, and that's all their bodies are used to.
No, and they warm up out there for 10, 15 minutes. They're still throwing quite a few pitches.
Yeah, I hate to say it's starting to backfire because some of these guys. Yeah. I almost believe. I hate to say it this way, but I think some of the pitchers are giving away what pitches they're throwing, because, I mean, to get shelled like we have the last 2.5 weeks, somebody's done their scouting on us. They know what's coming. We have become predictable or something, because I know major league hitters are good, But the pitchers have gotten a crazy advantage if you try to go out there and hit a 95 mile an hour fastball.
And then 16 runs is quite a bit of runs.
16 runs is a lot.
So they did that, and when they're playing, I mean they're even kind of fun to watch until the whole thing falls apart. So the question is it time for a change?
I'll say it this way, I understand that our general manager and our team president aren't the owners and aren't trying to sell the team, but I think they're reluctant to do anything with the team on the market.
Okay.
And I think they would rather than maybe firing Rocco, which I might be advocating. I get a sense that he's had 8 years and things should be going a little bit better. We've given him his opportunity.
So do you think Rocco's under the gun?
I think Rocco's going to be under the gun, especially when they get a new owner. I think if they get a new owner, after the Lakers sold for $10 billion last week, $10 billion. That's with a B, folks. $10 billion.
That's a lot of bees.
That's a lot of clams. I was stunned by that number. I mean, I get it, but I don't know. The Redskins sold for $6 billion. The Commanders, excuse me.
Yeah.
This will be the Redskins. I'm sorry, I can't get that out of my skull. They sold for $6 billion 3 years ago. That number seemed ludicrous at the time. $10 billion. That's a.
So what do you know about David Fista?
Well, he's a pitcher for the Twins.
Yeah.
And he hasn't done so well.
Well, they have what they call now not a starting pitcher, an opening pitcher.
An opening pitcher.
And so he goes in and takes the top part of the lineup because we don't want David Fista to get petrified and throw meatballs out there. And so, but I'm not sure I ever heard of this. I always thought that Major League pitchers were fearless, and if you mess with them, they'd knock you in the head.
It's amazing what happens in here, right? I mean, it really is. So, yeah, I don't know. Seattle's coming to town. That's not necessarily a good thing, although we did all right out there a few weeks ago. But that was a few weeks ago. We're
playing really well.
We're in a little different.
Well, maybe the boys can start swinging the bats, and Buxton can bring them in. I like kind of the way the outfield is set up right now defensively. I'm not entirely sure if they figured out the infield yet, but that's coming around. You've got at least two guys in there that weren't on that team at the beginning of the year, so it's we'll see what happens.
Yeah, every time Matt Wallner comes to the plate, I get scared that there's no chance. And then just about the time I'm going to start yelling at the TV, he does something finally.
He hit one over 500 feet.
Flying squirrel?
Yeah, flying squirrel, all right. Yeah.
So
that was the flying squirrel, all right.
LSU and Coastal Carolina in the College World Series.
I was pulling for the Chanticleers.
I was busy Saturday night at somebody's party, so I didn't get to watch Saturday night's game, and we had Little League playoffs that started yesterday, so I didn't get to see not one pitch of the finals, but I did get to see the Coastal Carolina head coach and first base coach get tossed.
Yeah, no, they wanted to go there. Apparently they heard they had a real good concession stand, and they wanted to go check it out, and so the umpire was just directing them the direction to go, and said, enjoy your meal. First inning.
And he said that he missed 3 pitches in the first inning. I'm just like, did you have this umpire before during the season? Because, okay, I'll say it this way. The Little League playoffs are going on. And of course people are freaking out because, the ump made this call or the ump made that call. And I just want to turn to him and say, here, get out there and ump it. It's all yours, baby.
Yeah, and it's not that easy either.
And I know the college umps get, are supposed to be good, and they are. But to get that riled up in the first inning about the strike zone,
No.
it absolutely. Paul said was he trying to get his team fired up?
Yeah.
Their 26-game winning streak had been broke the day before. Was he trying to fire his team up? I don't know. That's a kind of a weird way at the.
When I was coaching with the old John the Bear Holler, he used to say, George, sit right there and be quiet. Why? I'm about to get tossed. And he didn't want both of us to get tossed, because then you're kind of in a rough shape. But yeah, no, I said, I'm about to get tossed. And every time he said that, must have been a prognosticator.
Because he did.
Because he did.
Yeah, I just. It's such a slippery slope, and then for the first base coach to kind of jump in and then get thrown himself, you're in a national championship game. I don't think that's a good thing to do.
Trim that beard just a little bit, and it just, this is what you're going to remember about this game, is that you got your butt tossed out. And it's just, you should be able to remember a lot more about that. You've had an incredible season.
You did.
You're in the championship game. Or the third game.
Yeah.
So you had to win this one, and that's not the way to lose it. It's just not.
LSU wins their 8th national title. Of course, the SEC wins the baseball championship.
Well, I know that again. Yeah, they play good baseball down there.
So
football, basketball.
They only had 2 teams in, and both those teams were on one side of the bracket, and they beat Arkansas, and they took care of business. And like I said, I don't think the baseball world is shocked that an SEC team won the title. They're probably more shocked that so many of them got knocked out during the regionals and the super regionals.
And there was a whole bunch of them in there, and there were a lot of good teams. But it's what they would have shocked them if they would have got a Big Ten team in there. That would have started.
Well, it would have been fun. College season is over for 24-25.
About time.
And football get cranked up here. Early August.
It's one of those things where Viking camp is going to start in about a month. So the question comes right now, and it's all. I love the beginning of the football season because hope really springs eternal. I mean, even more than baseball. Oh, we made all these changes. We drafted this. We got rid of that. I mean, what they have to remember in professional football, the very worst team and the very best team aren't that far apart. They all have great athletes.
Well, remember, we sat here about 11 months ago, and everybody said, well, if the Vikings could win 7 games, maybe 8, we'd feel pretty good. It may not even be that good. And then they went out and won 14.
Donaldson went out and did it,
I mean, we got to remember now the Vikings are going to get a number 2 schedule versus whatever. So the schedule's going to be tough. But in Kevin we trust.
Hey, we
go
do
KOC.
2 games in Europe, which means 2 football games for breakfast. You can just you make a nice brunch and you sit down and you watch a ball game. I
Bloody Mary?
I had a Bloody Mary too, but after the ball game I got tired and had to take a nap. So you kind of got
that is a danger.
That is a danger.
That is a danger.
I do like those Sunday European football games. I don't know why.
Well, and there are going to be more of them in the future, so you better. CFL is underway. They're already through 3 weeks.
I've seen that. Yeah.
And the Winnipeg Blue Bombers are 2-0.
Well, there you are.
I like my boys. Eli and I have. The Bombers play at home on July 18th. We're debating heavily whether we should make a trip, him and I and anyway. But they're tough tickets to get these days up there.
Last time I saw the place, it was packed.
Nobody wants to get rid of that.
And they were all drinking beer.
They like to drink their beer at their Bomber games.
Yes, they do.
There's no doubt about it, especially when the home team's winning.
And they've been winning lately.
They have been winning. So
there was a time in my youth, the Blue Bombers didn't do all that well. That was the Hamilton Ticats. We all watched Hamilton because Bronco was playing for him.
Bronco Jr.
So every time we got a chance, we didn't even get a chance to see it very often. We did have CBC television, and they would do one a week or
One a
something.
week, sure.
So we caught every time the Hamilton Ticats were on, all the football players got together.
Well, of course, now if you got one of these, you can watch every.
Now you can watch everything, including a dart throw.
So, yeah, the Bombers played Saturday night, but once again, I was engaged with something more important.
You were engaged? Does your wife know that? Sorry.
I hope she knows I'm engaged with her. Anyway, let's talk about a little bit different football. The Gold Cup is going on. The USA goes 3-0 in their pool play, group play, and they're either going to get Mexico or Costa Rica. But the biggest news of that is they might be playing in Minneapolis for that match on Sunday.
This coming Sunday, they don't know yet?
They don't know who's playing where yet. They haven't decided. But there's 2 games of the Gold Cup, 2 quarterfinals at US Bank on Sunday, and they don't know who those two games are going to be.
I heard one comment from a Mexican sports expert, and he says, run these in Mexico. They don't know anything about soccer north of Mexico, so run them in Mexico. But that's not altogether true. Canada has had solid hockey or solid football for a long time, and we're just kind of come-alongs on this one. But we got a lot of people, and a lot of athletes, and so you just never.
We have
know.
a lot of athletes.
And in case you haven't noticed, our women's soccer team has done real well lately. So, they had to take. I watched this one where they're doing it in the desert, and they had to take heat breaks. And they went over, and this wasn't a timeout. They had to go over and drench their head with water and take in fluids and do all the rest of that stuff. It was one of those things where, Tim, I wouldn't survive even going to the game. It's hot.
Of course, the Gold Cup is going on, but then they also got this new thing. I don't think I've ever seen it before, but they've got the FIFA Club World Cup. So, for example, Inter Miami is playing tonight, which would excite Eli because that means Lionel Messi is playing.
So, has he been playing lately? I mean, when he plays, he does well.
Yeah, when he plays, I think for this, he's this is the world stage,
well,
and
that's good to know. I didn't know that. In case you haven't noticed, I've done run out of sports.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, now you can add a little soccer because this is going to get they're kind of getting through the pool play of the Club World Cup, as they're calling it. So rather than playing for your country, you're playing for the team that you're signed with. And something a little different. Hasn't caught my interest, and it probably will when we get to the quarters and the semis when they're really pouring it on. Loons, 8-4-6, sitting in 3rd place. They play Houston on Wednesday. They get the New York Red Bulls on Saturday, and of course they're still in their U.S. Open Cup, which it kind of gets weaved in between the seasons and where the smaller leagues get to play the big boys and try to see how they can compete. So the Loons are still in that. So we'll see how that all plays out. So a little soccer to watch. Like I said, it's with everything that's been going on with the NBA Finals, the NHL Finals, with the College World Series. Kind of had to push soccer to the back.
Everything and push it way late at night too. And it's just, but it's coming together a little bit. At least when we play Seattle this week, it's at Minneapolis, so it starts at 6:30, not at 9:30 or 10. Yeah. So.
What else you got?
I tell you, we're just about done. Listen, I have a story, and I kind of told you about this the other night. This has to do with Bronco Nagurski. He always keeps on coming up. And a headstone that he has out here at the cemetery. Now, a guy named Jim Belushi, the actor and everything from Chicago, the younger brother of John Belushi, these are the Belushi brothers, is an incredible fan of Nagurski. And so he was doing a show, one of his TV shows, and they wove Bronco into this, and there was a scene where they were all meeting around Bronco's grave. And they made a very nice headstone, legitimate marble headstone with name and all the rest of that, a nice symbol of the NFL Hall of Fame, and he had all the rest of this. And they shot him for the TV. Well, I'd like to tell you how to see that on the TV, and maybe I can, I don't know, but Belushi got a hold of the Nagurski family, and said, we have this very fine headstone, and Bronco, in his humble fashion, has a footstone, because that was Bronco's style. They said they offered them the stone, and then the Gursky family said, sure. So they put it, I believe it's out in the cemetery now. I'm going to go out there one of these days and check this out. But know that this was from a comic actor, Chicago Bulls, or Chicago Bears, the Bears.
The Bears.
And Bronco was the biggest bear of all, or at least the biggest cub bear. So anyway, Jim Bellucci, thank you very much. What else did I have to say about that? It's like where legends transcend generations. In Chicago, they know who Bronco is. I bet you they remember Red Grange too. So it's and numerous other bears that I don't even want to start to mention. So thanks, Jim Bellucci, and we will appreciate that.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people who swing by to go look for Bronco Nagurski's headstone, I mean, it was...
It's hard to find.
If you had no idea, if you went out to St. Thomas Cemetery, you would be very difficult to find. I mean, I was told where it was, and still had to do some searching because they explained it very well, the person who told me where it was, but it was very inconspicuous, as you mentioned, and you had to know where it was.
Well, it's not with the Nagurski family; it's with the Canes. His wife was a Cane, and they had their grave sites next to the Cane family. So Bronco's just kind of out of the way. Well, you'll be able to find his headstone now, and it's
kind of hard to stay out of the way when your name's Bronco Nagurski.
And Jim Bellucci, you see, there's people like this you don't know they're ordinary people, and they are, and it's just
they get it.
They get it, for sure.
Anything else?
That's all I got today. I hope that we have more sports this week, so I've got something to say.
Yeah, just want to say congratulations again to you and Sue, and we invite great, like I said, you guys put on a great party with the Mother Pluckers. They played when they got done the first time. I say it that way because I didn't realize they were going to continue playing.
Yeah.
Everybody kind of got up and started leaving, and I'm like, oh well, they must be done. They stayed for the music. Well, then there was just I'll call the select few that were left for the second act of the Mother Pluckers, and we sat down and enjoyed the.
Well, they ended the show with one of my wife's favorite songs, a Lead Belly blues tune, "Good Night, Irene," and it's on the shores of Rainy Lake. Hard to get more romantic than that. It's just tough.
Well, I told you, and I told the girls when I went in to say goodnight. I told them, I said, third Saturday in June, this has to become a tradition. The Mother Pluckers playing up until dark. Everybody get together, bring your favorite beverage
and
a $20 bill, and we'll throw it in the pot and we'll sneak it into their car so they don't know that it's there, so they can split it up later on. But I enjoyed the heck out of listening to them. It was a great night.
Yeah, it really was.
Thanks, Darcy and ladies. Thanks. We'll talk to you next week.
I forgot to talk about my Outlaws, my favorite baseball team.
We'll talk about the Outlaws. We got time.
Yeah, no, from Boise State Penitentiary, 1897, Dirty Dick and the Outlaws, great baseball team, one of my favorites.
All right.
Prison baseball. See ya.